This is Capital Ideas TV. Coming up, the HotBox. 5 cannabis-related companies and 4 investors in a Shark Tank-style event. Hello and welcome to Capital Ideas TV. I'm Mark Bunting. There are a lot of smaller cannabis-related companies struggling to get heard in a noisy market. There are also investors of the larger variety who manage money to the smaller retail investor who manages their own money, who all want early access to good cannabis-themed ideas. The founders of InvestTO decided to bring all of those people together on one night in a Dragon's Den or Shark Tank-style event called the HotBox. We talked to the organizers of the HotBox about what they're trying to accomplish.
For the younger millennial investor, and InvestTO is primarily younger millennials, they can watch and learn from sophisticated cannabis-focused funds. And they can watch and learn from C-level executives at the largest cannabis producers.
5 companies operating in the cannabis sector and 4 investors, some of whom exclusively invest in cannabis companies. The cannabis firms are an interesting mix of business models. We'll tell you more about what the companies do in a while, but first let's meet some of these entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs and find out why they're willing to withstand the heat of the HotBox.
No, first of all, the hardest thing is what can you do in what can you say in 5 minutes? And that's tough, right? And so it's easy for me to orate for 20 minutes, half hour, and that's the easiest thing. To be able to distill the message down into something succinct is really tough to do. I mean, just going through the material, going through how we present and make sure we get the highlights. But other than that, you always need a little bit of nerves to keep you on edge and make you real. And I'm nervous, so that's good.
We're looking to do 2 things. One of them is we are partnering with Cannabis HC, which is a company in Langley. The reason for that is we are looking to get ourselves our LP. With the LP, we can work in this industry, and we can essentially do a 50-50 split with any of the other LPs. And that essentially makes us one of the largest cannabis companies in the country.
I'm feeling good, actually. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So we're excited. The Dragon's Den was pretty hot in there. So I heard this is apparently a really good comparison. So that gave me a little bit of preparation and training, I believe, for this. But we'll see. We'll see. I may have to say a couple words or maybe stumble, but hopefully that won't be too much of an issue.
Well, quite honestly, I don't watch Dragon's Den or any of those shows. So for me, this is just your regular pitch. And I'm actually a musician, so I'm used to being out in front of lots of people. Except usually I have a guitar to hide behind.
The Canadian market specifically is very interesting because we think it's a great opportunity to take our company public on the Canadian Securities Exchange. So here we're looking to meet people that can help facilitate that.
The investors or judges in the HotBox event are highly regarded with deep knowledge of the cannabis sector, such as Roger Dent, the founder of Quinsam Capital and a previous guest on Capital Ideas TV. Dent invests exclusively in cannabis companies. Here's what he's looking for in the HotBox. You, as our viewers know, exclusively invest in cannabis. What do you look for when you hear a pitch?
Well, we're looking for something new and different, something that we can't get in another investment vehicle. So what we're looking for is a new idea, a proprietary idea, and of course we're looking for something at a reasonable valuation.
It's time for the pitches. Each presenter has 5 minutes to make their pitch, and there's about 10 minutes of Q&A. The investors will decide whether they want to make an investment, and the audience gets a vote as well. This pitch comes from Pratik Dwivedi. He's the CEO of Ehave. This company is developing a health informatics platform for the medical cannabis sector to better analyze data and improve patient care. Let's go inside the sold-out HotBox.
Build a platform. It's great. We have, here's a screenshot of a couple of things, but our platform's all about trying to determine how do I capture efficacy data, outcome data? How do I start proving that cannabis is a real drug? This isn't, if this was the 1920s, we'd be talking about opium and opioids, and the FDA would be coming in and saying, I need to regulate this. Well, I feel that this is going to happen to cannabis, and we need to start getting ready for it. So we operate across the value chain. And a value chain in clinical settings is the patient journey. So starting at intake, making sure we're getting information from the patients as they see their clinicians, to the assessments that they're taking, to helping the clinicians understand how to prescribe cannabis, what strains to prescribe, to ensuring that patients are adhering with their treatment protocols. And for us, the most important thing is outcomes. Outcomes are a combination of did it work and what were the side effects. Two critical things. And what I've learned out of this is, we've done this over and over again. This isn't anything new. We just haven't applied it to cannabis yet. I have a $3 million convertible note. I've raised $2.4 million of it already. It's all Canadian dollars. And we have $600,000 open. We've already announced we're on the OTCQB. Don't ask me why I'm on the OTCQB. We're on it, and I have to live with it. But we've announced our intentions to go onto TSXV or the CSE. And so that's all public. The raise is public. And I want to close out this round, $600,000. And it's quite an attractive note. You get a 25% discount to the RTO and full warrant coverage at the RTO price.
So it's 600,000 of a larger
amount? Of a $3 million note.
Okay.
We've raised 2.4 of it. We've closed it already. That's all. You can check our see their filings.
Really impressive stuff. Interested in what the actual monetization of the product is, and what is this $3 million get you? What are the milestones that this $3 million is going to get you to?
Right. So the milestones are this is all for operating capital, right? So the milestones we're hitting are to take us into the fall, past the RTO. It's for staff where I just started doing sales in the end of March. It's to help us with the cost of onboarding new staff to actually get more LPs up and running. So it's all operating costs.
So let's go to Roger, because Roger, I know that you've done these kinds of deals before.
This I think has the potential to be quite interesting. What I am interested in is the kind of big data potential in here that a couple of years down the line, as you accumulate data, you will be able to come up with formulations for specific things and own it. Like that to me is the interesting thing here. And at this valuation, it's not unreasonable.
We feel like we're the wave of the future in terms of how people test for things. We anticipate being the first sample-to-answer instrument that can process up to 22 pathogens at a time. Whatever you want to test for, you can do it on your own. You don't have to ship it away to a lab. You don't have to have an expensive microbiologist. It's something you can do on site. You collect that sample, you input it into the machine, you hit a button, an hour later you get the result you're looking for.
This HotBox pitch comes from Yanni Afir, the co-founder and CEO of GetLeaf, which manufactures what it describes as a home growing system if it was made by Apple or Tesla.
Hey everyone, my name is Yanni Afir and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Leaf. So the fastest growing sector in the $60 billion a year lawn and garden industry is cannabis home growing. In fact, in the US, there are more hydroponic equipment stores than Target and Best Buy combined. And 2018 is an explosive year for home growing, what with California legalization coming into effect, states like Vermont and New Hampshire legalizing but only allowing home growing, so no retail sales, and of course Canada legalizing, which will allow any person over the age of 18 to grow their own cannabis plants at home. This market has grown steadily, and this year is going to be a big boom. Leaf is a plug-and-plant system that automatically grows cannabis that is controlled by your smartphone. Think of it as a beautiful mini fridge that stocks itself with cannabis. It starts off with a custom-built LED created by lead agricultural lighting researchers at NASA and tailored for cannabis. We have a patent-pending climate control system that controls the temperature, humidity, and water temperature at all times. There's a unique carbon filter that prevents any smells from protruding from the device, as well as proprietary nutrient pods that dose nutrients exactly when the plant needs them. There's also an HD camera in every system where you can check on your plants through the app at any given time and create these beautiful time lapses, like a baby monitor for your weed. And the results, take a look for yourself. From seed all the way to harvest, including the drying, within 90 days, a consumer can get between 100 and 170 grams of dried, cured cannabis. Consistently, every time. Plug and plant. As easy as that. Our business model is tried and true. We sell the device for $3,000. Pays for itself within 2 to 3 grows. And then we also sell consumables in the form of nutrient pods and the carbon filters that are replaced every 90 days. The app will let you know when you're low on nutrients, and then within 2 taps, we send it to your doorstep. There's also other add-ons like extended warranty and service add-ons with high gross margins. We are planning for a public offering here in Canada sometime early next year, so that's what we're here to start discussing. And as I said, we're starting to ship this summer. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Yoni.
Some questions that still arise for me. You say $3,500 LTV. The product's $2,900, and then you have per cycle $80, and then the $200 each, 2 more line items of $200. Are you guys budgeting for just a year's use, or is that you're sort of averaging out people who fade away after the first year? Or?
10-second answer.
Yeah, we're budgeting. We're saying on average a year use. We'd rather be conservative. Could be a lot higher, but we'd just rather be conservative. Thank you, judges.
Blockchain is going to be big. It's early days right now. It's much like the internet in the 90s, and we want to be in early. And we're diversifying our investments so we can sort of pick those winners and in 10 years from now see the benefits from today's investments. We were one of the first public companies to dedicate ourselves exclusively to blockchain. We know that in 5 to 10 years from now, it is going to define consumer life, finance, real estate, healthcare, and we offer a good exposure into this early technology for our investors.
The next pitch at the HotBox is Mary's Wellness, a maker of cannabis-infused beverages, and founded by Virginia Vidal. She's a mother of 6 who, for a long time, following some surgeries, has been medicating herself with cannabis.
Mary's Wellness started in 2015. I started Mary's Wellness as a need to medicate discreetly while I cared for my family. That included triplets and my 3 older children, as well as my grandmother with dementia. I started medicating actually earlier than that, but however, we'll get into that another time. But I needed a way that I could medicate and look after my family. And I had been in many, after the triplets, I actually had many surgeries. I had 6 surgeries in 3 years, and I really needed a way that I could look after my family discreetly in a way that I could function, and that's where I came across the teas. And the teas have become part of my life. Not only became part of my life, but also part of my business. And we've evolved to Mary's Wellness, and we created the product 2015. We were first launched in dispensaries all over Toronto. At one point, we were over 100 dispensaries. Now we've moved on after Project Claudia, we moved on to online, and we have been selling online since for the past 2 years, and we have had quite the following. We are one of the most established cannabis tea beverages, infused beverages in the country. We up to date have sold over $500,000 in product, and we have continued to escalate. This year, so far, we are at, what would you say, Ricardo?
So far, we're at 200,000, and we are looking to get over 350,000 this year in sales. And that is with a limited market space, with no marketing budget. It's all word of mouth. We're building a loyal following across social media and all the platforms. We have 20,000 followers across all of our platform right now, and we are building. We have iconic packaging premium packaging, and we're a brand that delivers a great product.
Most recent, we were actually featured on the Dragon's Den, so we were happy to be invited to that, as we are happy to be invited to this great event today. I mean, this would be a great product at every nursing home. I mean, can you imagine seniors having this at nighttime or even during the day? They'd be a lot happier than a lot of the pills they take. I know this because I go to nursing homes on a weekly basis to see my grandmother. And every single nurse tells me that, and they see how happy my grandma is after she has one of my teeth.
My concerns, most importantly, would be regulatory challenges. How do you get your product to market? Because it's not anticipated to be allowed under even the Ontario Cannabis Act at this point in time. And the second challenge would be the whole branding thing. You've done a phenomenal job branding it to date, but as soon as this kind of a product becomes regulatorily approved, you're going to have the Canopies and the Afrias throwing millions of dollars of branding into doing the same thing.
Actually, that's what we currently have, is some of those bigger players looking at us right now and wanting to make a deal. So that's where we're standing, and that is why we're asking what we're asking, because it's based on what some of the current offers.
Put your green sign up if you're interested. All right, you have people to talk to.
Ooh,
and if this is not for you, red.
Them. Thank you. Oh my God, right. There's even people up there.
Definitely stick around.
We will stick around and talk to you later.
Everybody, please give it up for Virginia.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
We're proud of the fact that we've been profitable every year since inception. If you have a business and you have a vision for it, and you want to borrow some serious money, you have to know who your lender is. You have to trust them. What we're doing is providing the capital that enables them to realize their ambitions. Money means everything to people who don't have it. We're here, we're stable. We have 40 years now, we're looking at the next 40. You can take these guys to the bank.
Sunpure is next up. It's a craft cannabis grower in British Columbia that has applied for a cultivation license and has an eye on being bought. Here's their pitch.
Hello everybody, my name is Mike Mueller. I am a co-founder, the president and CEO of Sunpure Cannabis Company. And with me today are my two partners. We have Catherine Jones, she's our VP of Stakeholder Engagement. And we also have Robin Sugar. She is our Chief Commercial Officer and General Counsel. So Sunpure is a startup cannabis cultivation company. We're located in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia. We are an advanced applicant or a late stage applicant in the ACM PR process, and we are in the final review stages of the application process, and we're ready to begin construction of our greenhouse facility and our processing facility.
We've already signed 4 very exciting LOI joint ventures and partnerships with some amazing companies. The first one is an LOI we signed recently with Giant Head Estate Winery. I had the privilege of visiting them when I was in BC a few weeks ago. This is a state-of-the-art, award-winning, multiple award-winning winery out in the Okanagan Valley. They want to produce with us non-alcoholic wine infused with cannabis.
So in terms of a merger, I'd be curious to understand what Afria saw in the companies that they were acquiring. Was it just growth space? Was it a brand that had been built? And how that would fit in your strategy then to be acquired? That's the first question.
Yeah. That's a good question. The Okanagan Story and Lifestyle brand is very popular. They have a huge following. They already are intending to do a huge amount, hundreds of millions of revenues at production. It's just a media frenzy in the valley with many documentaries being filmed there. It's kind of like the Colorado of Canada, I would say.
Okay, why don't we put it to the audience? If this is something you're interested in learning more, please show us your green. A bunch. All right, definitely stick around. And red if you're not interested in cannabis grow operations or applicants. All right, that would half-half. So definitely stick around. So everybody please give a round of applause for Sunpure. Thank
you. This last pitch is from Agspectra. This company is using proprietary LED growth lighting in its greenhouses to provide what it calls optimal plant growth. It's also looking to appeal to licensed cannabis producers.
Sure, we are a greenhouse technology manufacturer. We design and build greenhouses primarily around food. That was our goal. And it was for creating sustainability, economic growth for small communities, rural communities. We very quickly realized that our technology is incredible for growing cannabis. So we have found partnering with late-stage LP applicant Cannabis HC to form New Canna, and so we can work in the multi-billion-dollar industry. We have 2 divisions and 2 clients only. So the first one is Starfield Center. Everything that we can produce for food is sold. We have an LOI from Federated Co-op to buy everything that we can produce. They're a $9 billion a year company. And New Canna, these are specialized high-performance cannabis production greenhouses. And according to Ari over here, we're looking between $5 and $6 a gram. So that's what everything's sold to the BC government. From a 10-acre parcel right now, we can do about $14 million a year gross. It gives us $7 million a year net for food. We have an amazing and diverse team with extensive experience and strong experience in the cannabis industry. You can invest in the property 18 Holdings Limited for an investment of $10 million, paying out at a preferred rate of 25% annually, compounded over 3 years. Or a long-term investment, you can invest with Agspectra, $2 a share. We're currently going through $100 million round of financing to finance 5 facilities here in Canada, and we intend to become public on the CSE or TSX within the next 2 years.
Anticipated demand of cannabis in Canada is going to be approximately 800,000 kilograms.
Yep.
And will likely hit that in year 2 of legalization. Assuming you start a project today that's 18 to 24 months until completion, you'd be on pace to bring your products to market right when the commoditization of cannabis commences. I guess what's your strategy in overcoming that?
Thank you for a good question. We can actually, being a greenhouse manufacturer, we can actually build a greenhouse for about 30% of the cost of a regular building. We can grow in that greenhouse high quality indoor style cannabis with this incredible oil and terpene production. And as you saw maybe a few slides ago, the quality of what we're looking at here, this is the type of quality. And so we're craft growing products. So the goal is by this fall, by October, is we can have the first bunch of greenhouses up and open and be producing in time for the recreational market. And the goal from there is finding that we get the company we're working with $100 million round of financing. They have already said if we can provide this or prove this out, they have up to $300 million past the $100 million for us. So the goal is to keep building these as quickly as possible with LPs. Anything that doesn't work, we can switch to food immediately.
Deal, no deal, or keen to learn more? Start with Raf.
Alistair, I think you're very credible and you've got the knowledge certainly behind you on the technology side and the experience. This does not necessarily fit with our objectives and goals in terms of what we want Scientist Pharma to be. So for that reason, we would pass.
Thank you.
Roger.
I would also pass. I've got a number of questions about some elements of the presentation. I can't really go through it all in 10 seconds, but sure. I'm afraid I'm a pass.
Ari.
We'd like to talk afterwards.
For sure. Everybody
is
welcome to chat afterwards. Ari.
I'm also going to pass. TerraSen's not really in the business of cultivation. I'm interested in the glass technology component as a co-growing method. I think there's a couple of gold standards already in cannabis, so it's hard to compete on there.
Ben.
Thank you.
Similarly, I'm also going to have to pass. I have some questions around how you guys are getting to your valuation and around ownership of the technology.
So everybody please give a round of applause for Alistair.
So those are the pitches from the 5 cannabis-related companies. Were the judges impressed? Was the audience? Let's go back inside the HotBox to see if any of the companies got investments from the investors on the panel and which of the companies the audience would invest in.
I'd like to congratulate Ehave as being the audience choice company.
So, Ehave gets the Audience Award. Do you think that was the right choice?
I think so from our perspective, certainly. That's the business that we're in. We're trying to develop pharmaceutical products. I think people are starting to recognize that the next wave of companies that are going to do well in this marketplace are not your growers. They're already in the business. They got lots of money to throw at branding, and that's what's going to be, commodity and branding. And so people are starting to focus on what else they can latch onto that's going to be part of the next wave of niche products, differentiated products, and that's what Ehave is bringing to the table.
Before the event, knowing scientists, pharma, doing a bit of research on that, and knowing Ehave, I kind of thought you two would maybe hook up. I saw you changing cards.
Exactly. So we are hooking up. We had heard of Ehave before, know something of them, and that's certainly up our alley. And so I've exchanged cards with Teak, and we will be hooking up afterwards to see if there's any opportunities for us.
I don't want to be crass, but will there be any money changing hands down the line? You think about an investment of some sort?
Very possibly.
Ehave was the most popular. Was that your favorite as well?
I think so at this stage. I like the business model that they've got. We are looking for companies that have something differentiated, something proprietary. The other thing that we quite like is the investment structure and the proximity to liquidity. So, the fact that they're looking at being public in a short number of months, that they're offering a debt security with conversion rights, with warrants, that's the kind of structure that we like.
So is it safe to say that's something that you're going to look at seriously?
I think we'll have a serious look. A key thing for us is understanding who's going to own the data and what restrictions they might have in using the data. I think the whole area of using data to better understand what can be done with cannabis and designing products around that and getting rights to those products. There's some very interesting intellectual property potentially in there. But what we need to understand is who owns that data and who's got the rights to use it.
And how impressed were you with Teak's background in terms of having worked at Princess Margaret, having worked at, I believe, Mount Sinai as well, and also having worked for a number of companies that were taken out? So he's been through that experience before.
I think it's absolutely crucial. This is a really complicated market. It's going to get even more complicated with regulatory hurdles coming out. So his ability to navigate some of the different obstacles that young companies inevitably have to wrestle with as they grow into more mature businesses, particularly his domain expertise is really exciting. That's something we look for in entrepreneurs.
I'm smiling because it's gratifying to know that you pour your heart and soul into something and others see it. And maybe we should do more events letting people know what we're up to, and this was a good example of that.
Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve at the end of the night?
Absolutely. I wanted to tell our story, wanted to tell it from our heart and a vision we believe in, and I think that it went really well and it resonated with the judges and the audience. I'm really pleased about it.
And there you have it, the inaugural HotBox event presented by InvestTO. A couple of the companies you saw are getting themselves set up to go public in Canada. We're in talks to get a few of them in here in our studio for interviews before that happens, and we'll keep you posted on that. From the heart of the financial district in downtown Toronto, that's our show for this week. I'm Mark Bunting. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. And for more great investment ideas through our weekly digest and morning note, subscribe to capitalideasresearch.com. You can also listen to our podcast on our website or at some of the various podcast platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and thanks for investing like a pro. We'll see you next time.